Hi there! Welcome to the show! I'm coming to you from inside this beige void, which, fun fact, happens to be a zoomed-in picture of the waffles on the box for Eggo home-style waffles, so that's nice. Unless you're a pancake fan, in which case it's actually a zoomed-in picture of this box of Eggo mini chocolate chip pancakes, if that's alright with you. And I'm not choosing two foods from Eggo because Kellogg's is paying me to do that, which they're not. I'm just simply a fan. Now, the subject of my story this week concerns movies, the ultimate escape from reality other than a visit to Dave & Buster's. Don't let their smiles fool you. Those people are at the lowest point in their lives right now. The movie-making industry is absolutely huge. It's an industry worth around $42 billion as of 2019 and has been known not only for making kick-ass movies, but also hyping them up with absolutely eye-catching movie trailers like this.
You inherit too much power. You have proven you can rule yourself. Now you must learn to rule others. Arrakis is a death trap. Kill them. This is an extermination. They're picking my family off one by one.
Let's fight like demons. Go, go, go!
Wait just a minute. This is a movie involving a planet that has a desert landscape which is home to a ginormous sandworm, and you didn't think to have sandy cheeks ride it like a bull? That is a huge missed opportunity. That's movie malpractice there, Villeneuve. Now, giant worm riding aside, the movie-making industry has been severely impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. As recent statistics have shown, the movie-making industry globally has seen revenue losses of $7 billion in the middle of March 2020, and with theaters closed, movie premieres postponed, screenings of upcoming movies canceled, and the entire box office market closed, the industry saw losses of around $10 billion as the effects of the lockdowns due to COVID-19 carried on into both April and May. And it's not just those impacts that have taken place. There's also the trend to movies going straight to streaming services. In the middle of March, Disney took its new Pixar movie Onward out of theaters and went straight to a digital release, making it available to watch for free on Disney+. And Warner Media, the parent company of Warner Bros. Pictures, made the decision to move all of its movies set for theatrical release, including some movies moved from 2020 to 2021, even some movies that would have been potential blockbusters to be available on HBO Max the same day they hit theaters, as part of an effort to grow HBO's streaming service. And this move got a lot of serious backlash, from movie director Jason Blum saying that it could forever change how people look at the movie business, to Dune star Timothée Chalamet wearing a hoodie on the production company that helped make the movie Dune while hosting SNL, among other things. Now, I know this isn't important, but I just had to point this out. Nobody wants to pay for a $15 per month streaming service to see a movie that's also being released in theaters, especially if that streaming service's color theme makes it look like I'm watching movies from inside Barney the Dinosaur's asshole, and not in a good way. Now, but all that is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of how this pandemic has severely impacted the filmmaking industry, as the scope of the damage COVID has done is larger than you expect. So this week, let's take a look at the film industry and how this pandemic has impacted it. And let's start with the company that dominates the industry of movie making more than any company in Hollywood, Disney. Since this pandemic began, their streaming service, Disney Plus, has grown to 74 million subscribers, and has recently announced that it decided to reorganize its media and entertainment business to focus entirely on Disney Plus. And that follows changes Disney has had to make throughout its entire business, like overhauling the Jungle Cruise and Splash Mountain rides at their amusement parks due to rides containing racist content, to eliminating shuttle services between their Orlando hotels and the city's airport, to Disney even announcing this.
Radio Disney is signing off for good early next year. Radio Disney, along with Radio Disney Country, will end operations in the first quarter. Disney says it's focused on producing content for its streaming service, Disney Plus, and the Disney Channel.
Yeah, it's true. Radio Disney, the Disney-owned radio station, has served as a launching pad for the musical careers of Selena Gomez, Demi Lovato, Taylor Swift, Miley Cyrus, among others, was shut down, along with its country music-themed sister station, Radio Disney Country. And that is a real shame, because where exactly are you going to listen to Radio Disney's greatest hits now? Sure, you can just download them from iTunes, but what happens when they no longer sell the music from Radio Disney? What are you going to do then? Buy a CD of their greatest hits? Okay, but how are you going to listen to it? You could listen to it in your car, but your car's dashboard is all digital now and probably wouldn't recognize a CD if you tried to pop it in. How are you going to listen to it if you can't listen to it in your car? Sure, you could listen to it at home, but with what? A CD player? You don't own one of those, and if you do, tell me this. Where is it? Exactly. If you think I'm going to listen to Radio Disney's greatest hits from anywhere other than the downloads from my phone, then you, sir, are out of your freaking mind. Of course, Walt Disney has had to restructure itself as a result of the pandemic. Some companies have seen an enormous opportunity to make some gains, particularly streaming services. Netflix is reportedly set to release new movies every week throughout the year 2021. The one that's gotten the most attention recently was the Netflix movie set to debut this Friday, Malcolm and Marie, which was the first movie to be filmed during the pandemic and to operate under strict protocols that they created to prevent an outbreak of the coronavirus. Regulations that included multiple COVID tests and temperature checks, a 2-week period for everyone on set to quarantine, having Zendaya and her co-star John David Washington both select and put on costumes and attach their microphones themselves, hiring a health safety supervisor, and creating zones for cast and crew members where their jobs prevent them from practicing social distancing and wearing PPE. And just listen to Zendaya explaining how much work it took just to make this movie within the span of just 2 weeks.
It was, it was interesting, you know. I think for all of us, I think the number one thing was the ability to do it safely, becoming a realer idea, you know, the number one thing, and I'm very grateful for Ashley Levinson, also Kevin, Katya Washington, Harrison, all our producers who really did the hard work consulting with different medical professionals and making sure that, you know, we had a very, very strict protocol, because if we were going to do this, the number one thing is that people were safe, and so we kind of created a bubble, essentially.
Yeah, they had to form a COVID-free bubble where people were routinely tested. They financed the movie's production themselves and used crew members from Euphoria who were out of the job as a result of the lockdowns to produce the movie. And not just that, they had to receive approval from the Writers Guild of America, the Directors Guild of America, and the Screen Actors Guild to conduct the film's production. Of course, there is a problem I have with the movie, but I will get to that later. But the fact that those unions had to give approval gives us a glimpse of another part of the movie industry that has been impacted by COVID. The unions that represent actors, directors, and screenplay writers. You see, Hollywood actors and directors don't belong to a specific film production company, as they work less like employees and more like independent contractors, like under the same category as other people who work as independent contractors, like accountants or plumbers. And it's not just actors in unions like SAG-AFTRA, Hollywood's largest labor union, as its members also include singers, journalists, dancers, radio hosts, voice actors, models, and internet influencers. And unions like SAG-AFTRA are how most Hollywood actors and other entertainment industry workers obtain health insurance. And as a result of COVID shutting film and TV production down, SAG-AFTRA had to make some incredibly drastic, if not completely unreasonable, changes to their healthcare plan for members and dependents. The changes in SAG-AFTRA's plan included raising premiums and increasing the minimum earnings threshold to qualify for health insurance by 44% to nearly $26,000. The plan also called for bumping working spouses of members off primary coverage, as well as for performers aged 65 and older taking their pension. And if you're a woman who is a member of SAG-AFTRA on their health insurance, the changes can seem somewhat draconian, and that was highlighted when back in September, this happened.
Hillary Swank has filed a lawsuit against the SAG-AFTRA health plan, claiming in court documents obtained by People that she was denied coverage for the treatment of malignant ovarian cysts in 2015. Swank was diagnosed with ovarian cysts in 2008, around the time her left ovary was destroyed and removed during emergency surgery. Swank says in a statement that she was, quote, truly exhausted by the way women's ovarian and cyclical health issues continue to be treated by healthcare insurance companies.
That's right, actress Hillary Swank sued SAG-AFTRA's healthcare plan trustees in federal court over being repeatedly denied coverage for being treated for ovarian cysts when she was trying to preserve her ability to conceive a baby, and she pointed to an exclusion in the plan for infertility treatment. And this is sadly another example of how America's healthcare system displays a bias against women to the point where it's almost unhelpful. The only way the system could be any more unhelpful is if WebMD's page for treating vaginitis was just a female shrug emoji saying, "Hell if I know." In fact, the problems the industry has faced is so bad that it's also brought under the spotlight already existing problems, particularly with mishandling money. We've already seen how the film industry can be a place for financial impropriety, like when it was revealed recently 2 years ago that one film producer was charged with money laundering, wire fraud, and aggravated identity theft when allegedly trying to film a Netflix movie, or how one woman embezzled nearly $1 million from HBO over a 7-year period to fund a luxurious lifestyle, or how the movies The Wolf of Wall Street and Dumb and Dumber 2 were financed with laundered money from a Malaysian bank. And some of the people who get hired to work on movies or TV networks can have shady backgrounds as well, which brings me back to Malcolm and Marie. Setting aside the, to put it mildly, deeply weird age gap between Zendaya and John David Washington, the problem with this movie is not with its content or how it was funded or the age gap between the two actors. The problem involves one of the producers that was hired to work on the project, specifically this guy, Yariv Milchan. If you're not aware of who he is, you might be aware of who his father is, Arnon Milchan, a former Israeli intelligence officer and the founder of the film production company Regency, which has been known for movies like 12 Years a Slave, Heat, Fight Club, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And let me just say this, why would anyone consider hiring these guys? Hiring one of these guys to work on a film project would be like you buying a Billy Mays infomercial product because you saw a cool commercial for it at 2 in the morning. And much like products Billy Mays promoted, you shouldn't just buy them because you saw one on television. You should, at the very least, Google it first. Because both Milchan and his son had some noticeable red flags, but the most recently noticeable red flag of them all had to be this.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in hot water as local police are seeking his arrest over bribery allegations. He has been under investigations in recent months, but police say they now have enough evidence to make their first indictment.
One of the 2 cases, known as Case 1000, accuses Netanyahu of receiving lavish gifts from wealthy benefactors, including Hollywood mogul Arnon Milchan, in return for favors.
That is true. Milchan paid bribes to Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in exchange for tax breaks worth millions as part of a tax exemption law passed in 2008, allowing Israeli tax code to benefit wealthy Israeli citizens who leave the country and later choose to return. A law named, and this is real, Milchan's Law. And that is just unbelievable. That would be like if there was a law making it illegal to disrupt an awards show and it was named Kanye's Law. But wait, you really have to take a look at the allegations against both Netanyahu and Milchan to try to make sense of it. Netanyahu has been under indictment by the Office of Israel's Attorney General on charges of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust, mostly involving him secretly dictating a news outlet in the country to present positive coverage of him. As for Milchan, Netanyahu, an associate of Milchan, James Packer, are accused of giving Netanyahu 1 million shekels, or $300,000, of luxury goods like, among other things, cigars, jewelry, and boxes of champagne. And when he was asked about allegations of bribing Netanyahu, Milchan responded by saying, and I quote, "I did not think it was a terrible thing to do." So he tried to cheat the system to get what he wanted, got caught, didn't get punished, and yet he's still around. I guess that makes Milchan the Tom Brady of film producers. But wait, there's more. Because Milchan and his son Yariv were named in a $50 million fraud complaint after the movie Rules Don't Apply flopped at the box office, and the investors' reason was that Milchan failed to market the movie and turned the job of distributing the movie to Yariv, who is allegedly not competent to handle the job. But wait, I'm not done, because not only was Milchan completely absent throughout the movie's production, but that when they held a screening for the movie before it was completed, Milchan reportedly fell asleep throughout the entire screening. And when Warren Beatty, the movie star, tried to reach out to Milchan throughout the film's production, he couldn't get through and tried to get a meeting with Yariv, but was told at Milchan's instruction to tell Beatty that he wasn't at the studio when he was. And bribery, bad film production, fraud complaints, and luxury goods don't look like good items on a film producer's resume. They're not even good ideas for plot lines for a new season of The Ozarks. Guys, just stop. That's too much. Not even Jason Bateman can make those things seem appealing. Now, I should tell you that Milchan has denied the allegations against him and his son, and says that he was disgusted about having to fulfill Netanyahu's gift request, except you recently heard him say on the record that he didn't think it was bad to bribe an elected official. And when everyone on film sets is safe and following protocols, and when the healthcare system within their union is stable and maintained, and everyone working on movies has a clean background and knows what they're doing, there is one final area of filmmaking that's been hit hard by the pandemic, and that's the theaters that play these box office hits or misses. Because while some big name theater chains like AMC lost some revenue, but made some gains when restrictions were relaxed and saw their stock price soar thanks to Reddit users, some smaller theaters are experiencing something very different. While drive-in movie theaters have seen a comeback, there are some independently owned movie theaters, especially in small and rural areas, that have seen the worst of it. Nationwide, a handful of these smaller theaters have shut down permanently, and 70% of small to mid-sized movie theaters are at risk of shutting down without aid from the federal government, some having to take in money through methods like holding private movie screenings and specials on popcorn. Now thankfully, Congress's most recent COVID relief bill provides $15 billion to small movie theaters and venues for live entertainment, and with a vaccine now finally being distributed across the country, there's hope by some theaters that people will come back when this pandemic does end. Watch this one guy who co-owns a movie theater in Seattle, who works every Christmas during the holiday box office race, except last year because of COVID-related closures, express his optimism on the future of his theater.
The Arc Lodge in particular has lost over 90% of their revenue due to the closure.
Justin Pritchett is the co-owner of Arc Lodge Cinemas. He's been in the business for 15 years. He's worked every single Christmas, except this one.
It's very unfortunate that, we're in this time period right now where we have to make sure that we're being safe, being socially distanced, and not at
Pritchett says despite the industry's pivot to stay alive, he's confident people will want to sit down in a theater again.
Knowing that there is a vaccine coming up, next holidays, it could very well be really busy at the theater, just due to the fact that people want to get out. They've been sitting in front of their TVs for the last year.
Yeah, we have been stuck in our houses wishing we could go out and do the things we could do before a virus ravaged the country and ruined our lives, and has hold all of our movie nights in our own living rooms. Although, watching a movie on our clean couch would probably be a better alternative to sitting in a folded chair, staring at a screen as big as a Peterbilt truck with its front sticking up in the air, and probably stepping in a sticky spot on the floor that may be either melted caramel or spilled soda. The floor of a movie theater is absolutely difficult to keep clean. Now, I've had to explain how hard hit an industry that has long been seen as impervious to economic hardships has been, and how living the life of an actor, whether successful or struggling, can be in a crisis as unprecedented as this one. And I know Hollywood is not usually an entity to feel sympathy for, but it's worth noting that some who don't have the luxurious lifestyles some actors have gone through the ringer to try to stay financially afloat. And like the rest of us, some of the elite in Hollywood have been scrambling to try and get inoculated with the vaccine, and some productions have had to endure rolling shutdowns because a cast or crew member caught the virus, and some fans of actors who have been frustrated that films that they've started and keep getting pushed back in either release or production. So in the short term, the filmmaking industry is going to look incredibly different, and things might get better, but right now, things will still somewhat suck for a while. And the long term, we badly need to overhaul our current healthcare system and have film and TV production companies implement stronger oversight of how much money is distributed and spent, and ensure that their productions don't fall victim to future viral outbreaks. While that sounds like a lot of work, bringing back movie theaters and doing it safely could mean the difference between seeing the next Pixar movie on your living room couch or seeing a huge man-eating sandworm on your hometown Cineplex screen. That's my show. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Good night.